Unlocking the dark truth. How embracing simplicity changes everything at 3 a.m. The clock ticked to 3. An eerie stillness washed over the small town of Millfield. Even the streetlights flickered like they were struggling to stay awake. Shadows stretched long and thin as if the night itself was trying to cling to the world. And in that moment, beneath the chilling glow of a waning moon, Jesse felt a stranglehold of unease gripping his chest. He couldn't shake the feeling that the veil between reality and the unknown was dangerously thin as he stood on his porch. The air heavy with a damp chill, he noticed something odd. The street, a usually mundane stretch of asphalt, seemed alive. In the distance, he saw flickering lights dancing on the horizon, wild and erratic, like fireflies having lost their way. It was strange enough to draw him closer. His heart raced as he stepped off the porch, each crunch of gravel underfoot an echo of dread in the silent night. Then, from behind a tall oak tree, came a sound that made his breath hitch, a deep, almost guttural hum that vibrated through the air. Jesse paused. The sound clawed at his mind, tugging at some buried recollection he'd long since discarded. Just as he was about to turn away, the humming grew louder. It morphed into whispers, soft and persistent, pulling him in like a moth to a flame. Simplicity embraced truth, the words wrapped around him, seducing his curiosity. What did they mean? It was too early for hallucinations. He hadn't even had his morning coffee. But the whispers were in his head now, echoing with a strange familiarity. He could almost feel them whispering secrets long hidden beneath layers of doubt and distraction. And in that moment of panic, Jesse knew he couldn't just walk away. He had to uncover the truth behind the dark allure of simplicity. But first, he had to decide whether he would take the plunge into the unknown. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Feeling a rush of adrenaline, Jesse crept toward the flickering lights, his pulse racing louder than the hum. Each step felt heavy yet exhilarating, and he clung to the idea that this was the moment that could change everything. Would he find the answers he craved, or would he uncover something far darker than simple truths? The fear crept back, a tightness in his throat as he approached the source. Was it merely the mystery of the night calling him, or was something more insidious waiting just beyond the light? With every whispered promise, the spell wrapped tighter around his consciousness, and he realized he was no longer just an observer. He was part of the story unfolding under the watchful eyes of the night. With each cautious step, Jesse felt the air become thicker, almost suffocating. His feet moved as if guided by an unseen force, pushing him further down the shadowy street. The lights ahead flickered erratically, swirling in colors he couldn't place. Red, blue, green, like the pulsation of a heartbeat, frantic and alive. What if it was an illusion? The whisper in his mind urged him on, just as the thrill of the unknown gripped his gut. What secrets lay twisted in the chaos? As he neared the source of the light, he could make out shapes forming in the distant silhouettes, dancing and swaying as if under some ancient spell. Jesse wiped the sweat from his brow, trying to swallow the lump forming in his throat. Get a grip, he muttered to himself. But the night only tightened its grip on him. Then he heard a shout, sharp and piercing, slicing through the stillness. Jesse froze. The shadows shifted, flickering out of focus, and in that moment, the figure of a girl emerged, her hair wild and her eyes wide with terror. "Help!" she cried, her voice a desperate echo that sent shivers racing down his spine. "They're coming." Before he could process her words, a low growl erupted from the trees. It wasn't an animal, nothing so mundane. The sound crawled under his skin, awakening fear he didn't know he possessed. Jesse instinctively took a step back, the instinct to survive battling against the magnetic pull of curiosity. "Don't," the girl started, but the growl deepened, rumbles of something monstrous, and Jesse's heart slammed against his ribcage. "Run!" Jesse shouted, his voice choking on panic. She hesitated, as if torn, then turned and bolted down the street. He followed her, each stride an act of defiance against the suffocating dread that cloaked the night. The girl leaped through patches of light, her feet barely touching the ground, and somehow, Jesse found his pace quickening. It was as if some primal instinct bubbled to the surface, igniting the fight-or-flight response buried deep within him. Suddenly, the earth beneath him trembled, and the growl morphed into a deafening roar. He glanced back, heart racing, and spotted it, a shadow larger than life, emerging from the depths of the trees. A hulking figure, its features blurred by the flickering light, yet its eyes glowed with a malicious hunger. "Keep going," the girl shouted, her breath coming in jagged gasps. "It's too late to look back." But something in Jesse's chest twisted. This wasn't merely a monster. It was a manifestation of the darkness he had felt all night, a reflection of every fear, every doubt clawing at his sanity. He couldn't abandon the girl. Whoever she was, she understood the truth he desperately sought. Jesse pressed on, urgency fueling his every step. "What is it?" he gasped as they rounded a corner. "What's chasing us?" "Truth," she replied, stealing a look over her shoulder. "It wants to claim you, Jesse. It won't let you go unless you face it." "What do you mean?" But she didn't answer, just ducked into a narrow alley, her silhouette swallowed by the shadows. Caught in a whirlwind of adrenaline and dread, Jesse hesitated, eyes darting back to the growling darkness. Was it simply the lure of the unknown, or was it something deeper, a confrontation that would define him? He took a deep breath, the night closing in around him, and stepped into the alleyway, determination setting fire to his veins. No turning back now, and vanished into the heart of the mystery, as the growl faded into a haunting silence. The alley swallowed them whole, the shadows pulsating like a living thing. Jesse could barely see, just the dim glow of the lights flickering at the entrance behind him, small and fragile like a dying star. The girl was ahead, moving with a speed that belied her fear, darting past crates and rusted dumpsters, pressing on through the thickening dark. "Why are you running?" he panted, his heart thrumming an uneven beat in his chest. "What do you know?" "Just keep moving," she shouted back, voice teetering on the edge of panic. "We need to find cover." Before she could finish, the ground quaked again. But this time, it accompanied a crack of thunder that rolled through the alley. Jesse stumbled, looking back just enough to catch a glimpse of a monstrous shape sliding into the narrow space. The glow from its eyes was a sickening yellow, illuminating the wall with an eerie light. "Turn left," the girl yelled, desperation lacing her words. She veered away, bringing him with her. The air was thick with the scent of mildew and filth, but Jesse pushed through, his instincts screaming for survival. They emerged into an open courtyard littered with broken glass and old crates, the remnants of some long-forgotten market. Jesse launched himself toward a doorway on the far side, breathless determination steering him forward. "Here," he cried, as they reached the entrance. He shoved it open, pulling her inside just as the growl transformed into a furious roar behind them. The heavy door slammed shut, the noise echoing through the crumbling walls. "Did we lose it?" he gasped, pressing his back against the door, chest heaving. The girl was already scanning their surroundings, wild eyes darting, searching for any sign of danger, any hint of that darkness. "Not yet," she whispered. "It doesn't give up easily." With darkness enveloping them, Jesse could see more clearly now strange symbols scrawled across the walls, remnants of a time he couldn't comprehend. Each symbol throbbed with an unsettling energy, and he felt an uncanny pull towards them. "What are these?" "Curses and charms, things meant to bind the darkness." She knelt, brushing a hand over the designs, her touch reverent yet cautious. "We can use them. If we harness the power, we might stand a chance." "Stand a chance against what?" Jesse demanded, the earlier panic now twisting into frustration. "Against that thing? And what's this about truth?" The girl turned to him, fear replaced by a determined fire in her eyes. The truth doesn't want you to forget. It wants you to confront what you've buried deep within. That's what's coming after you. Jesse felt the weight of her words push down on him. He had buried many things, too many to count. In that moment, he understood the monster wasn't just an isolated horror. It mirrored his deepest anxieties, the chaos he had kept hidden. Behind the door, the growl returned, more menacing, a warning that time was running short. Jesse's resolve hardened. What do we have to do? Find a symbol that resonates. Use it to forge a link. But we must be quick, the darkness is relentless. He looked around, eyes catching on a symbol glowing faintly at the far wall. It was intricate, swirling and flaring with an intensity that made his heart pound. He edged toward it, feeling an electric thrum at his fingertips, a strange familiarity tingling through him. Whatever it takes, let us do this, he said, taking a deep breath, his pulse racing as he reached for the symbol. Just as he touched it, the door behind him splintered under a tremendous force. The growl exploded into the room, a figure starting to emerge, blacker than the night, hungry for him. He could sense history colliding with his future. Something was about to snap. As a monstrous claw reached for him, a question burned in Jesse's mind. Could he truly face the truth and survive? And then everything went dark. A chill coursed through Jesse as the darkness swallowed him. A cold void that pressed in from all sides. Panic flooded his veins. Was he dead? The uncertainty clawed at him, visceral and real. But then, a flicker broke through the pitch. A faint light erupted from the symbol he touched, spreading like warm sap through his body, igniting his senses. He could see now. The symbols surrounding him glowed with ethereal power, casting a ghostly hue against the walls. Jesse! The girl's voice sliced through the haze, echoing in the dimness. Hold on to it. Don't let go. He gripped the symbol tighter, feeling its energy pulse beneath his fingertips. Memories began rushing back, a torrent of moments he thought long buried. Pain, regret, disappointment. They throttled him, memories of choices made, the darker sides of life he'd attempted to escape. Focus, she urged. You have to embrace it. That's the only way. The growl behind them morphed into a thunderous roar. He could feel the air shift, the intensity building, like an impending storm. Every instinct screamed at him to flee. But he couldn't run. Not anymore. Jesse let his mind draw on the unfolding truths that he had buried. Each painful flicker from the past fed into the symbol, intertwining like roots of a sprawling tree. It wasn't just him, it was everyone he'd let down. Every moment of weakness that had haunted him. Suddenly, the door buckled against a fierce impact, shaking the ground beneath him. Dark fingers clawed at the edges, seeking a way in. Breathe, the girl shouted, her voice steady even as fear laced her eyes. You're not alone. You can take it all in. He steadied himself, grounding his emotions. With each memory he faced, he sensed the darkness stirring within him. It was coiling, readying to strike. Tentatively, he reached deeper, scraping the edges of vulnerability, confronting the guilt he never wanted to acknowledge. Now, she cried, urgency rising in her voice. Jesse closed his eyes and whispered an unsteady incantation, the words spilling out like a burst dam. The power radiated as he released everything, the regret, the fear, the blame. Each word ignited the symbols around him, erupting in a brilliant light that pushed back against the encroaching shadows. The forceful presence outside paused, the growl diminishing into a confused murmur as the light consumed the room. A wave of calm washed over Jesse, an overwhelming sense of clarity intertwining with the intensity of his emotions. But as the shadows shrank back, pulsing reluctantly against the erupted light, he felt something shift. Like an exposed nerve, a new threat revealed itself. From the depths of the darkness, more eyes opened, dozens of them. They glinted with malice, hungry, and he knew he had only disturbed a far greater evil. Jesse, we have to hurry. The girl clenched Jesse's arm, urgency flashing in her eyes. We stirred them. We need to leave now. He turned to the door, still vibrating under the force of the creature outside, his heart racing. The light began to fracture, shadows inching back closer with raw hunger. "Where do we go?" Jesse yelled, fear choking his voice. "Follow me, trust me," she yelled, already sprinting toward a narrow passageway that opened up within the thrumming light of the symbol. Jesse hesitated, but just for a heartbeat. Choosing to trust this fleeting bond, he dashed after her, navigating the shadows that swirled hungrily around them. Each step felt like a beat of a war drum, thumping their way into the unknown. "Will we make it?" he panted, stealing glances behind. A fierce light began crackling around them, a shield that pulsed with energy. But would it be enough? The darkness was alive, relentless. "Together, we can't stop now," she shouted, her voice igniting a flicker of hope amid the chaos as they raced deeper into the passage. Jesse couldn't shake the feeling that the darkness was not just chasing them. It was waiting. What lay at the end of their escape? Would they find the truth, or had they only awakened a far more terrifying void? As they plunged into the passage, a chilling realization crept in. Sometimes, the truth can be just as dark as the shadows themselves. The passage twisted and turned, collapsing into itself like a living entity. Shadows flickered around them, jagged and sharp, reaching for Jesse and the girl as they propelled forward. Every heartbeat rang like a drum in his ears, desperation clawing at his throat. He could feel the darkness trailing behind, pulsating with malevolence. "Don't look back," she urged, her breath hitching as they ran. "Just keep going." Jesse's mind raced with thoughts. Who was she? Where were they headed? The shadow's persistence added weight to each unanswered question. As they rounded a corner, the light enveloping them flickered ominously, and for a moment, he feared it would snuff out completely. It held on, shimmering defiantly, but he could feel its power waning. "Almost there," she shouted, determination strengthening her voice. Her hands were slick with sweat, gripping the wall as they pressed forward. "Just trust me." A faint echo filled the air, a weird, rhythmic pulsing almost like a heartbeat. It surrounded them, growing louder, thrumming through his bones. The girl stole a glance over her shoulder, eyes wide with panic. "They're coming," she screamed, urgency flooding her tone. With a sudden burst of energy, she lunged ahead, and Jesse followed on instinct, ignoring the aching in his legs. The shadows flicked and danced, angry and waiting just behind them, eager to reclaim what was theirs. "Where is this leading us?" he gasped between quick breaths. "To the chamber," she called back. "It's our only hope." Their feet pounded against the damp stone floor, wet echoes swallowed by the looming darkness. The symbols they had just unleashed flickered in and out of visibility, trying desperately to hold the malevolent force at bay. But the more they ran, the more Jesse felt that the safety of that glowing light would only be temporary. As they reached a wide archway, the girl skidded to a halt. The chamber stretched before them like a colossal black hole, its center pulsating with the same heartbeat that they had heard before. There, suspended above a stone pedestal, was another shimmering symbol, larger, more intricate, and faintly electrified. "What is that?" Jesse breathed, awe mingling with fear. "The key," she panted, moving towards it, "can merge our light with the darkness. We need to unleash it." Jesse hesitated, doubt gnawing at his resolve. "But if we do that, what will happen to us? It's the only choice we have." "They're almost here," she yelled, urgency cutting deeper than the fear in his heart. Just then, a deafening roar filled the chamber, nearly shaking the walls around them. The darkness surged forward, coalescing into a monstrous form that took shape right at the entrance. Jesse's breath caught in his throat as he saw what they had awakened. "Do it," she screamed. "Now, Jesse! Do it before it's too late." With deep trepidation, Jesse stepped forward. The raw power of the symbol drew him in, tension coiling tight in his gut. Would he lose himself trying? He could feel the shadows building momentum, drawing dangerously close. The desperation surged around him as he reached for the symbol. But could the power truly be balanced? Could darkness coexist with light? Just as he felt his fingers graze the surface, a scream erupted from the depths of the shadows. The thing at the doorway charged, its gaze locked onto Jesse, eyes glinting with insatiable hunger. Heart racing, Jesse closed his eyes. Together he thought. With a deep breath, he shouted the incantation that surged from his core. Light flooded the chamber, battling the encroaching darkness. But was it enough? He felt her hand grip his tightly, and for all the fear swirling in his chest, he realized there was something more, something stirring in the depths of his being, igniting a flicker of understanding. Embrace both, Jesse yelled into the abyss. We can't fight this alone. The shadows slowed, momentarily surprised, and with that fleeting hesitation, Jesse pushed forward, ready to face the chaos of intertwined realities. But what would it cost them, and would they survive the confrontation that loomed over them like an impending storm? The air thickened, shimmering with uncertainty, as they both prepared for the explosion of light and darkness about to ensue. Jesse's body trembled, a wild mix of fear and resolve coursing through him. The roaring darkness loomed closer, tendrils of shadow reaching out hungrily, and the chamber vibrated with an energy that felt both raw and electric. Jesse, the girl shouted, her voice cutting through the panic like a knife. We have to merge our strengths. Now, he nodded, a hard pulse in his throat. What if their unity was the key to survival? They had to intertwine like the darkness and light swirling around them. As she stepped alongside him, Jesse focused on the symbol, the glowing manuscript of hope hovering above the pedestal. Could they truly harness its power? On three, she urged. 1, 2, wait, he gasped, a wave of dread crashing over him. What if it takes us? What if we disappear forever? Would you rather face that thing? She shot back, pointing at the shadow creature, now writhing and seething with rage. Trust in the bond. It's our only shot. With no time to lose, they counted down together, voices rising over the swelling chaos. 3. They reached out together. Energy erupted, and the moment their fingers brushed the surface of the shimmering symbol, it exploded into a blinding light. It was as if the sun itself had surged into existence, forcing the darkness to recoil. The screech that followed resonated through the chamber. The shadow creature screeched, disoriented by the onslaught of brilliance. Jesse squinted against the radiating glow, feeling the power course into him, filling every inch of his being with warmth and clarity. The stream of energy connected them, wrapping around their hands like a living vine. Jesse felt their fears morphing, transforming into strength. He could see flashes of memories illuminated in the light, their pasts, their hopes, intertwined in ways he had never imagined. His mind raced with purpose. They were more than allies here. They had the potential to be something greater as the light grew. Jesse became aware of strange whispers threading through his consciousness. They were not words but feelings, emotions intertwined with images of light and dark moments he had faced in his life, struggles that echoed through time. Fight for those moments, the girl cried, her eyes fierce. Let them guide us. Feel the connection. With a sudden rush, the shadows lunged again, striking at the roots of their light, desperate to break their flow. Jesse winced as darkness lashed around them, a cold wind seeping into his bones. We need to hold on. Resist it. His grip tightened around her hand, instinctively pulling her closer. Together, they summoned every ounce of their empathy, flicking the switch to bravery. The light brightened, swirling out from them and pushing back against the crushing shadows that had pursued them. Together, they shouted, voices merging in defiance. But the dark force was relentless, screaming with fury, a dissonant chorus of anguish that pounded against Jesse's skull. The light trembled, flickering like a candle in a storm. He felt it waning. No, we can't let it win, he yelled, fury filling the void of despair. We have to believe. Suddenly, the shadows shifted, morphing into familiar shapes that made his heart clench. Figures of his past emerged, dancing within the darkness, faces of people he had struggled to protect, moments he had tried to forget. Why are they here? He exclaimed, anguish edging into his voice. They are a part of this, she replied urgently. Embrace them. We cannot erase our fears, only wield them. Closing his eyes, he concentrated, drawing on their pain, their stories, intertwining them with the light flowing through him. Jesse could feel the girlish energy guiding him, anchoring him to the moment as he shaped his thoughts into tendrils of light coiling around the shadow. In that heartbeat, clarity cut through the chaos. This is us. His heart screamed out, not just as individuals but as survivors weaving strength from suffering. The light exploded anew, and with it, the shadows staggered, howling as they twisted against the power. But just then, a piercing silence fell, stopping Jesse's heart. Had they found balance? Or had they only roused something deeper, a force more ferocious than they could imagine? With a desperate glance exchanged, they readied themselves. Darkness churned again, shaking the very ground beneath them. "What's coming?" Jesse whispered, dread pooling in his gut. The very fabric of reality around them shimmered unsteadily. As the last remnants of the light and dark clashed, he felt the promise of a revelation. Something lurking behind the imminent storm. What did we truly awaken? He murmured, heart racing as the shadows began to warp and reshape into something never seen before. The shadows writhed and twisted, a nightmarish ballet of darkness, almost sentient in their movements. Jesse's heart hammered in his chest as he felt the pressure of the chamber push against him. The once suffocating weight of fear now clawed at his sanity, pricking every sense with its frigid touch. "Keep your focus," the girl shouted, her voice a beacon amidst the chaos. "We're on the edge of something monumental." With every surge of energy they shared, Jesse found pieces of himself, he thought lost, a refusing warmth mingling with the dread. He grasped the light that had bound their fates together, aware that letting go meant surrendering to the darkness. Suddenly, a monstrous shape loomed before them, grotesque and vast, an entity that defied description. Its eyes, two cold orbs, pinned him in place. The sheer malevolence radiating from it was suffocating, wrapping around him like a thick fog. "Jesse!" The girl's hand trembled in his grip. "We need to amplify the light, draw deeper from within." He remembered the times he had allowed fear to dictate his choices, the moments he had turned away from the hard truths. But now he wasn't just fighting for himself. He was fighting for all those he had lost, all the dreams that had withered in the shadows of his own doubts. "I want back down," Jesse shouted over the tumult, channeling his conviction into the brilliance swirling around them. In response, the light throbbed, pulsing like a heartbeat. The creature shrieked, its form tripling, multiplying before their eyes, a grotesque distortion of everything Jesse knew. "Feel the fear, Jesse," the girl urged, her expression feral with determination. "Use it. It's just another part of us. We can control it." Drawing on this feverish energy, Jesse concentrated on the familiar faces flickering in the darkness: his childhood friend, the teacher who believed in him, the family members he had lost. They infused him with strength. He was not alone. Together, he roared, the radiant swell charging through them both, piercing the very heart of that monstrous shadow. The clash was monumental. Light and dark collided with a force that rattled the very structure of reality. The air crackled, electricity dancing like fireflies, illuminating the chamber briefly before plunging them into darkness again. Then, just as quickly, silence enveloped them. What's happening? Jesse edged, his heart racing, the tension heavy in the air. The world around them unraveled, a kaleidoscope of images flashing before his eyes. Each pulse of light drew the creatures back, revealing truths that felt unreal. Memories, half-forgotten faces from his life, intertwining in a beautiful dance of joy and misery. "Let it in," Jesse breathed. "All of it." And with that, the overwhelming brightness surged again. It whispered secrets of the universe, buried connections, and unexpected revelations. Jesse gasped, feeling a tidal wave of emotions crash through him. But just as they began to take control, the shadows recoiled, reorganizing into a single, colossal figure, one bearing the faces of all his fears. Each gaze radiated disappointment, betrayal, pain, a frenzied figure made of every moment he had ever regretted. "Jesse!" the girl cried, desperation overtaking her steadiness. Listen to me. This is not just a battle of light and dark, it's a confrontation with all that you are. No, he shouted, battling against the tide of hopelessness threatening to pull him under. With each word, it clawed at his resolve, beckoning him to give in, to let the darkness consume him. But then, he felt her grip tighten around his hand. Her strength echoed through him. A sliver of hope sparked inside, igniting a relentless fire. What if he could face these fears instead of running from them? Their bond surged electric, incandescent. They needed to unlock the truth hidden within the darkness, confront it with courage. And just like that, the swirling shadows charged, aiming for the very heart of their collective light. "Jessie!" she screamed, panic flooding her voice as they braced for the impact. As the monstrous figure lunged, the realization struck him. They weren't meant just to fight. They were meant to understand. With a roar that shook the chamber, Jessie shouted, "I embrace you. Show me what it means to be free." The shadows halted, suspended in mid-air, caught between the light and darkness. Their fate hung in the balance as Jessie and the girl prepared for the revelation that would unfold. But what truth awaited them? What new nightmare had they sparked? Suddenly, the monstrous figure lurched forward, its features warping into expressions of anguish and fear. Jessie felt his heart lurch in response. This thing, it wasn't just a creature. It was everything he detested about himself, distorted and amplified. He could almost hear the echoes of his darkest fears whispering around him, taunting him, begging to pull him under. "Jessie, stay with me." The girl's voice cut through the cacophony of his thoughts. "You can't run from this." He clutched her hand, anchoring himself in the moment. The darkness pulled at him like quicksand, attempting to drag him beneath the waves of regret. Yet his breath came faster as he realized the truth she spoke. There was no flight from these shadows. They were part of him, shaped by every choice he had made. "I feel you," he shouted back to the dimming figure, drawing closer. "I see you, and I'm not scared of you anymore." The shadow formed a mouth, twisted and ghastly, letting out a sound that was a jarring mix of laughter and sorrow. "You think mere words will save you? You cannot escape your past." But something shifted. The light emitted from their intertwined hands flared with intensity, illuminating the grim faces that made up the shadow. Each one was more familiar than he wanted to admit, the friends he lost, the opportunities abandoned, moments he chose not to seize. "Enough!" Jessie seized the determination rising within him. "I recognize you. All of you. You've held me in chains. But no more. You will not control me." With a surge of sheer willpower, he filled the air with his voice, louder than before. "You don't define me. I define myself." The figure hesitated, a ripple of uncertainty lacing through its monstrous silhouette. "This power," the girl murmured, awe and fear mingling in her tone. "It's growing. Can you feel it, Jessie?" Jessie nodded, feeling a warmth radiate through him as hope surged like molten lava. The shadows twitched as if recoiling from something they had never encountered. It was light, but not just any light. It was the light of self-acceptance, the understanding that his fears stemmed from moments of vulnerability. Together, they unleashed the energy they had harnessed, casting vivid beams of color that splintered the darkness around them. With each pulse, the monstrous entity shrank, the haunted faces fading one by one. "Do you see?" he yelled. "You are pieces of me. You are not my jailers. You're reminders of what I can overcome." With this declaration, a blinding flash erupted. The shadows screamed, a cacophony spiraling into an echoing nothingness. Light swallowed them fiercely, tearing at the fabric of despair that had bound him for so long. Yet just as victory appeared near, the chamber's walls began to tremble. A deep rumble pulsated through the air, reverberating in the bones of the earth. The radiant light flickered but didn't extinguish. Together, they faced the unraveling space around them, the tangible fear of collapse gripping Jessie's gut. "What is happening now?" the girl shouted, her eyes wide with confusion and fear. "Is it over?" Before he could reply, the ground beneath him split open, revealing a gaping void that seemed to consume all light. An icy wind whipped through the chamber, gusting with an unsettling force. Jesse's heart stalled. This can't be the end. We're not finished. But he could feel it. A new wave of dread approached, an unknown force that awaited them just out of sight. The darkness might have retreated, but something far older and more terrifying lingered in the abyss. "Brace yourself," he yelled, instinctively pulling the girl closer. As the shadows beneath surged upward, the sensation of being drawn back into the abyss clawed at him. He could almost hear the whispers of lost souls, beckoning him deeper into the dark. The ground crumbled as he got ready to plunge into the unknown, the weight of every choice and fear hanging in the balance. What awaited them in the depths? Would the light they harnessed be enough to face whatever was lurking just beyond the edge of their reality? Jesse felt the ground slip away, the jagged edges of the earth crumbling beneath him. He and the girl, still holding tight to each other, teetered on the brink of the void. Time seemed to stretch as he stared into the dark. The icy wind howled, echoing his own fears, but he knew if they fell, they wouldn't just disappear. They would face whatever horrors lay in wait. "Don't let go." The girl's voice was fierce, narrowing his focus like a beacon. Steadied him. Together, they conjured the last remnants of light within them. But just as the shadows reached up, spiraling out of the abyss like grasping hands, something else happened. A low whisper emerged, haunting and familiar, as if it knew Jesse intimately. It curled around his mind, teasing at every corner of his consciousness. "You're not meant to escape. What do you want from me?" he shouted, fury mixing with fear. As if in reply, the winds howled louder, pushing against them, forcing them to press further into the light they had created. The girl focused on him, her expression both determined and anxious. "Jesse, whatever that voice is, it's trying to break you. Focus on what we've just fought through." He took a deep breath. Memories flashed before him. Tender moments with friends, laughter at the park, times when he felt invincible. Each one shone brightly, stitching together a tapestry of resilience that couldn't be unraveled, no matter how dark the shadows became. "It's just noise," he yelled into the abyss, the conviction rising in him. "You're nothing, an echo of what I don't want to be. You can't harm us." With that, he turned to the girl and nodded. Bracing themselves, they unleashed their remaining light once more. This time, the beams cascaded like waterfalls, illuminating the chamber and pushing back against the shadows that clawed at them. In an instant, everything shifted. The darkness howled, shrinking backward, the whispers lost in the surge of brightness. But the void didn't dissipate. Instead, it transformed, revealing unsettling shapes swirling within it, as if something kept stirring beneath the surface. "What is that?" the girl gasped, eyes wide with terror. Jesse's heart raced. The shapes twisted and writhed, almost clinging to the sides of the chasm, sending tendrils of fear coiling through him once again. "I don't know," he admitted, swallowing a lump that refused to go down. "But we can't let it pull us in. We must keep fighting." Just as hope ignited anew, the ground trembled even harder, shaking them to their knees. Jesse squeezed the girl's hand tighter so they wouldn't be separated, already knowing how fragile this moment was. "Stay with me. Focus, remember the light." But before he could even finish the thought, a massive shadow loomed from the void. It surged upwards, cold, dark, and impossibly vast. The air crackled with an ancient malevolence that sent shivers coursing through his spine. It feels like it knows me," Jesse stammered, the reality sinking in. This wasn't just the echoes of his past. This was something worse. Something primal. With a roar of anger and despair, the shadow lunged toward them. The girl screamed, but Jesse couldn't afford to be scared anymore. They had come this far, but what would happen when their light met the full force of the dark? "Get ready," he shouted, braced for the impact. "We're not done." Would their light be strong enough to last through this final confrontation? Or would they be swallowed whole by the darkness that had waited patiently for their vulnerabilities? The shadows writhed as the vast darkness surged toward them, cold tendrils stretching like claws, hungry for the light they had summoned. Jesse and the girl stood their ground, their breaths sharp and frantic. He could feel the weight of every moment, every doubt pulling at him, threatening to drag him into the depths of despair. "Jesse," her voice sliced through the tension, filled with an urgency that sparked something deeper within him. "This is our moment. We embrace the light together." He nodded, locking eyes with her fierce determination. He needed this connection. "Together," he shouted, gripping her hand tightly. As if responding to their resolve, the light around them burst forth in a brilliant eruption. It was a wave of color, alive and pulsating, fierce against the dark that was intent on swallowing them whole. Jesse's heart raced, matching the rhythm of the radiant glow that pulsed from their united hands. Memories flooded his mind, moments of laughter, love, pain, and forgiveness. They lit up the cavern like a fireworks show, each memory a vibrant spark against the oppressive dark. With a deep breath, he pushed forward, drawing upon the strength he had gathered. "You don't define me," he roared, channeling the energy of his past. "We embrace all that we are." The collision was cataclysmic. The shadowy figure roared in fury, the sound echoing like a thunderclap throughout the chamber. But Jesse felt that anger feeding his strength. He wasn't just fighting for himself. He was fighting for every minute he had lived, every choice he had made, every smile that had pushed him forward against the tide of shadows. Light exploded from their clasped hands, streaming outward like rays of sunlight piercing through storm clouds. The tender feelings of the past intertwined with the fierce, burning hopes for the future, creating a tapestry of what it truly meant to be alive. The darkness faltered, for it was no longer just a terror to face, it was part of his journey, his growth. "What is happening?" the girl cried, her eyes wide, filled with both fear and awe. "Is the darkness learning? Is shifting? Is being revealed?" Jesse shouted. "It's no longer just a monster. It's part of the truth." Just then, the shadow rippled violently, shrinking back as if recoiling from the light that now aggressively pushed against it. The screams echoed like shards of glass, rejecting the vulnerability they had unearthed together. "Merge the light with the dark," the girl urged, her voice direct through the chaos. "Show them who you really are." His heart thundered in reply. Reaching deep down within himself, he grasped the light, twisting it, calling upon the shadows that flickered at the edges of his mind. "You're part of me," he shouted again, the words resonating through the chamber. "You don't consume me, you empower me." And with those words, the light ignited anew, swirling at their command, transforming the darkness into a mirror. Faces of his past flickered within it, the lost friends, the mistakes, the moments he wished to undo, but now they did not bear the pain of shame. They became echoes of experience, stepping stones to his growth. The shadow howled, then it trembled as though caught in a hurricane. It twisted and swirled, the darkness collapsing inward, folding upon itself, unable to withstand the brilliance they had forged together. "Keep going. We're almost there," the girl urged, and Jesse surged forward, channeling everything they had found within, everything they had faced together. The room exploded with light, a final clash that resonated through the very bones of the earth. The shadow unleashed a final roar, echoing with an anguish that transcended hate, one that was filled with a realization lost to time. Then silence. Jesse opened his eyes, breathless, heart thundering. He blinked against the sudden brightness. The chamber transformed. Where the darkness had once loomed, a radiant glow filled the space. Symbols danced along the walls, now shimmering with golden light, and a warm breeze whispered promises of hope. "Did we?" Jesse whispered, feeling the weight lift from his chest. "Yes," the girl breathed, her eyes gleaming with wonder. "We faced the dark and we embraced the truth." He turned, taking in the beauty that replaced the terror. Colors burst with unrestrained energy, swirling around him, alive in ways he never could have imagined. Together, he said softly, finally understanding. They had faced the darkness, not as enemies, but as parts of an intricate puzzle. They had turned their pain into strength, becoming resilient in ways he had never thought possible. As they stepped forward, the symbols glittered, revealing a pathway leading to light beyond the chamber. It seemed infinite, a promise of new beginnings. "Ready?" he asked, glancing at the girl beside him. "Always," she replied, a smile breaking across her face, bright as sunrise. They walked forward into the unknown, side by side, as strong as the bond they had forged. Each step felt lighter, liberated from the shadows of doubt. As they ventured out, they could feel the vibrancy of life welcome them, a soothing balm against all they had overcome. And amidst the brilliant colors of dawn, Jesse understood one final truth. The dark might always linger on the edges, but it could never claim what was rightfully his. Nothing could take away the light he had found within. Make sure to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. I want to hear your reactions, theories, and thoughts about what just happened. Flood the comments section right now. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. We're all in this together.